invitation. Yeah, I love that you shared that it's about waiting for that invitation and responding to it versus initiating and controlling. That's such a huge shift, really. Like, so what is, so that's the internal shift, but how does that shift externally? Like, what do you notice is different in your life from that internal shift?
You're not kidding if this has been an epic transformation. Just, you know, my history. I make things happen, you know, been leading organizations and leading projects. And yeah, and I think I'd never given myself a chance to see what would happen if I just stepped back. And when I made that shift internally, I really found that it was true. And one of the things that you used to say to us in coaching with, even if you're trying to manifest something, even if you're asking for something, what the universe actually has in store for you might actually be better than you could even imagine. And so really just kind of putting things out there as I think this is the direction I want to go, and just kind of waiting for some confirmations, waiting for some invitations that say, yes, that create space for that. The most recent example, well, I'll give two small ones. I went to Costa Rica a couple of months ago, and by happenstance, I posted on LinkedIn a much more personal post I normally do about this transition. I'm going to go down there and take some time and the wellness coaching that I'm wanting to go into and all. And a friend of mine, that somebody I greatly respect, admire, consider a dear friend, we're classmates at the academy, and I'm only connected to him on LinkedIn, basically. He's not on Facebook. Posts, I moved with my family to Costa Rica. You know, when are you in town? What part will you be in? Oh, it's his company that I'm interning with right now as the wellness director. And I had a very free flow trip, and I hadn't completely figured out even what I was going to do. So I just did a side detour. I went to San Jose, stayed a night there. I didn't even know when we were meeting the next day. He just told me he'd be available that Sunday. So I drove down there, took a shuttle Saturday evening. I finally I don't even know what time I'm meeting him the next day. I'm sitting in trust, and reminded myself of that when I started to be like, I need to move the schedule. No, I'm in Costa Rica. I don't need a schedule. And about, I don't know, 4 p.m. that afternoon, he says, hey, how's 10 o'clock for you tomorrow morning? I said, 10 o'clock is great. And I said, do you want me to catch an Uber to meet you somewhere, or would you be available to pick me up? He says, I'll pick you up. We had an awesome meeting, so much ideating. I might even do some investment into an eco resort he's renovating, just bought down there. That's where it just felt so aligned to go work for his company, because he wanted a wellness director. He wanted to build this program, whereas the company I'd originally been interning with that was driving me crazy, taking forever, turns out that was for my highest good. They were just like, yeah, we'll do you a favor, bring you on, you can coach our people, our employees. That's cool. They weren't wanting this. And so I had asked him, because I didn't even have a ride to the Caribbean yet, where I was going to do a women's retreat down there. And I'd asked my hotel, hey, do you have any drivers you work with? They just gave me the usual shuttle names, which was a fine backup. And I asked Rashad, you've been here a while. Do you know anybody that does this, might offer like a better deal than the shuttle? I'm trying to be a little more frugal since I'm going to be retiring soon. And he's like, yeah, I got a guy. Let me make some phone calls. And he did some texting and all of that. Well, he ends up dropping me off, and he was like, oh, you should fly. I'm like, I don't want to spend that much. It's half the price to drive. It's pretty. It's fine. I'm trying to be frugal. Well, he drops me off. He's like, okay, my guy will pick you up. What time do you want to get picked up tomorrow? And I'm like, how's 10 a.m.? He's like, that works. And I said, how much is it going to be? He's like, I got you. I'm like, you don't have to do that. He said, you changed your trip to come see me. The least I can do is get you to your next location. I had a private driver.
Thank you. Yes, please. And thank you. And I'll receive more.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yes.
And it's so different than, honestly, like, if we're being honest, it's different than the way we were conditioned. We have been so good at making things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also, what if it's prevented even better things from just coming to us, from just receiving? It's such a perspective and paradigm shift, especially when we're really good at making things happen. Like literally, that's such a great story, isn't it? It's like, we can tell ourselves like, but I know I can do this and make this and this and this happen. And the truth is you can,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't have to. Like you are still you, and the energy of you is meant to live in this frequency. And so it's going to happen either way. You just kind of get to choose what it's going to look and feel like. And it's not woo-woo magic stuff. It's really about getting so clear on what you're a yes for, and no to everything else, being super clear on what your values are and what you're here to put out into the world and to share into the world. And I say you as in us.
Mm-hmm.
It's just about clarity. It's like we start to learn that it's not even so much, it becomes a little bit less about the boundaries out here and more about just the clarity. Because the more we're in that clarity, the more things kind of fall away and the more opportunities come, because there's
Mm-hmm.
less clutter. And then it's just like clear energy exchange, which, yeah, I'm so happy to hear that that's unfolding for you. That's super exciting. So awesome. That's so fun. So are you in that role now?
Yes.
That's
One
super
of
fun. I want to hear about this eco resort too. Is that where you're hosting your retreat?
No.
Okay.
This is a property he's purchased and is going to do some renovations in, and I'm going to potentially use that as a future location. I really fell in love with the Caribbean coast of Costa Rica. It gets a bad rap sometimes. Unfortunately, there is racism in Costa Rica, just as there is racism in many places. And the Caribbean coast has a significantly higher African origin population. At the same time, I love just being around incredible diversity. And so you get wonderful Caribbean food, and you also get wonderful, more African origin food. And it's just literally just a more colorful, in the sense of culturally rich place.
Where did you go?
A little bit south of Limon, near Puerto Viejo, but there's Cocles Beach, there's Punta Uva, which is one of the most beautiful beaches in the world, are all kind of going down the coast from Puerto Viejo. Puerto Viejo gets a bad rap. It's a tourist town. People go there to party. I don't go partying there late at night. That's not my energy. And it has great little shops and wonderful restaurants, and it's a super cute little town. So,
Yeah.
And the more southern towns are absolutely beautiful. And, most places you shouldn't probably be walking late at night alone as a woman. So, yeah, you follow the same normal precautions as you do anywhere. And it's absolutely wonderful. It's beautiful. There's been a lot less investment. So it's just kind of more chill and rustic-ish, but it does have proper roads all the way there, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Paved roads, yeah.
That's awesome. So tell me about, because you're in a really exciting time in life. You just retired, 20 years in the service, and you've decided to step into wellness coaching, although really you have so many more gifts and talents. Like wellness for you is like a fully embodied, we're talking qigong and breath work and all kinds of things that go into that. What are you looking forward to creating in this next chapter?
What I have continued to really narrow down is this is what I'm here for, is not necessarily to be the expert in anything and not necessarily to have long-term clients. People keep telling me I need to have repeat customers. That might not be what I need. I see myself as a person that creates curiosity and introduces people to just a broad range of movement modalities, of meditation modalities. And my retreats with the corresponding coaching series are going to be kind of geared around equipping people with tools that they can then take back, resources. I want people to find what resonates with them, what their passion is. Like I practiced yoga for years. I enjoy yoga, but when I found Qigong, that was my practice. That resonated. If you've never had a chance to even try something,
Yeah.
you just don't know. And so really having this be kind of like I'll just be a very holistic, integrative, multimodality, still can have depth in each of those. But if somebody decides they want to pursue Qigong, I'm not going to be their Qigong teacher. I'm going to connect them to resource people that's what they do. And I see it as a beautiful space too, because I've let go of the idea that there's competition in the space. There's not.
There's plenty of people that are looking for guidance.
Yeah. And I don't want to be with the person who would be better off with someone else. And so my website already has a resources page. You're on there. And it's, here's other people that I like and respect and am willing to put my name behind their name. And if what they're offering resonates more, do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that permission, because it's really just showing that shift in abundance versus scarcity. And the truth is that that's that clarity piece, right? Like the more that you stand in your clarity about who you're here to serve, and it's kind of like switching to that, my love language is quality time. So it's kind of like attracting the quality versus the quantity. It's like the aligned perfect match, student to teacher. We're co-creating this. And then from there, oh, this is something you want to dive deeper into. I've been doing this pretty much my whole life. I've been doing all these things. Let me show you who your next teacher to integrate with would be. I think that's a beautiful space to be. And it just creates so much trust, because then they see that you are there for their highest good. And so when, it just takes that extra level of trust to be able to be like, well, I'm not the expert. I love Qigong. I do it myself every single year. However, if this is really what you like and you really want to dive a little deeper, this may be the resource for you or something like that. So it's super awesome. And so when I looked at your retreat website, it looks like and correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like it's geared towards veterans, the retreats.
It's geared towards those who serve, which can be veterans, foreign service officers, healthcare workers, teachers. And I've been working with the verbiage because I want to make sure somebody doesn't sit there and go, well, that's not me. And so I've actually changed it a little bit to see, or anyone else who has sacrificed their own needs to serve others. It could be a mother who's a stay-at-home mom who's constantly sacrificing her own needs for others. And it's just like so many of us get caught up in the unhealthy cycle of striving and working and sacrificing in a way that is draining instead of enriching. And so that's part of, for example, the purpose mapping part. When you're working aligned with your purpose, it's your cup is full, to take a step back to refill your cup. The work is joyful. It can be hard, but it's not a net negative on your life. You're living into your purpose. And so just building these tools first and that's kind of the arc of the concept is first honor your intentions. Like, what are you here for? What do you want to let go of? What do you want to receive for yourself? What do you want to receive for your community? And then moving into making space, what are your needs and how can you better honor those? And then we slowly step out to, okay, now how do you build a cyclical calendar that makes sure that you're setting time and space to recharge so that you can be wholly present and ultimately serve at a higher capacity. Yeah. And then how do you, once that feels comfortable, and it might be a right away thing and it might not, but you've got more tools for now, how do you honor your family and your relationships? Looking at nonviolent communication, or I prefer the term compassionate communication. Talking about Ruiz's 4 agreements. Kind of learning how to recognize these things and make sure you're honoring your commitments to yourself, your impeccable word to yourself and to others. Just kind of, again, building these tools while also sampling different types of meditation and movement and finding out what resonates for you. And it might be shooting sports for somebody, something that causes you to be fully present and work with your breath. It could be rock climbing. Those ones aren't going to happen at my retreats, and I'm not going to take people on personal, but at least to create the awareness and start being mindful about where do I really find myself in flow and presence. And then kind of expanding that out to now, how do I honor my community? How do I find joy in service? And ultimately, hopefully, how am I honoring the earth, honoring the broader community? But it really starts at figuring out getting yourself aligned before you can really serve at your highest capability outside of that. I'll jump off my soapbox now.
Amen, sister. Like it's, yeah. And, I love how you started with just the awareness of, we have these subconscious saboteurs, is a kind of strong word, but it's true. And one of them is the martyr, which is kind of one that I hear you speaking to, where it's where we love to be in service of others. And sometimes we've unconsciously or subconsciously made that choice at the expense of our own well-being. And so how can we rewrite that so we can give from a place of overflowing and rewrite, totally flip the script, whatever that story was about what we thought that meant about us, we're selfish or whatever, that totally flip it, rewrite it. And not only that, but give others permission to live in that as well, I think is even the more empowering part. And I love that you said it's service members, because what a beautiful offering. And it's a type of sort of like longing or choice or connection within the person that you're offering an invitation for them to connect with one another and reflect each other's experience, but also do their own inner work of like, am I showing up in that relationship in a healthy way, or is it an unhealthy way? And how can I choose to put some intention and energy more on developing sort of my healthier self? So, and you're going to provide tools to do that, which is super awesome.
Yeah, so often I think that, yes, that was me for years. The martyr complex, sometimes balanced by the kind of the know-it-all, that I've got better ways, do it my way, do it this way. Yeah, and so the beautiful shift that I feel like has occurred is not working and not serving out of obligation, but as a gift, because this is my purpose. And I'm living into my purpose when I continue to serve for me in this new way of wellness coaching and transformational retreat hosting and such. And honestly, my last job in the Air Force, I was commanding a logistics unit, relatively small, but very spread out across the US. And I just walked in and decided I was going to lead with love. And I did. And I didn't know how that would be taken, but it worked. And it was a joy to go to work because I felt like I was actually living into my purpose instead of living out of obligation and things I have to do. I was choosing.
Yeah, to shift. I love that. I remember having those conversations with you, specifically like when you flew out to California, and then you were just like, yeah, yes, you did.
Yes.
With love. And, we just continue to give permission to others to do the same, men and women,
Yes.
It doesn't have to, like, it can be all of it.
Yes.
You get to choose.
I'm called to work with both. I've been trying to figure out timing for a men's retreat. I'm thinking it's probably going to be January, February, to give myself space and time in between. But I'm really feeling like I need to work with both men and women, but also that it's worth creating containers for each. And I definitely am going to be, I'm talking to a couple of people that could co-facilitate that are men for the men's retreat.
Awesome.
Because so many men need that feminine energy to really feel like they can get vulnerable, but then also they need to go talk to a guy about this sometimes. It's also there to hold space and not just a fellow participant.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I love that you're creating this space. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. And
people that are going to step into it.
And I've got to tell you, Jen, it's so funny because hearing the things that come out of my mouth sometimes, it's like, oh yeah, Jen talked to me about this months ago, year and a half ago. It's been kind of fun. Like there were so many lessons that I felt like I was able to kind of embody immediately and start to integrate and apply. And there are so many that I wasn't ready for, but when the time was right, oh. And then I've gone back and read some of my, journal notes from those times when we were talking together and everything. And it's just kind of been fun with the unfolding. Because I mean, we worked together for about 9 months plus the retreat. And there was just so much richness.
Thank you.
That has just continued to resonate. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Well, I am receiving that, and I'm just saying, I want to acknowledge your willingness to receive, because that's really, truly giving yourself permission to get out of giving ourselves. And I say this for anybody who's potentially going to attend a retreat too. Like when you give yourself permission to get out of your head about what you think things are supposed to be like, when you release that expectation and you just step into trust, it is really amazing. That's where we get to receive, because we're so much softer physically. We're just softening, and we're ready to receive and trust. And we trust our own discernment and intuition as well. And we start to stand in that clarity. And we stop doing things from a place of needing the validation or the recognition, or because somebody else told us you should do that, it'd be such a great idea. Well, yeah, it would be a great idea, but is this aligned with me? And I love to just hear that you continue to allow yourself to just let the journey continue unfolding, because that really just shows your true commitment to your own personal discovery. And just that trust piece is, super awesome to witness. So thank you for saying that. I am totally receiving that, and just reflecting back to you, just the teacher and the coach and the leader that you've always been, and you're continuing to expand and step into. Retreat facilitator, like all of this just feels so like it's like the version of you that's been like, all right, let's go. We've been waiting. And at the same time, like you've spent your everything up in your life up until now has prepared you for this. Like all the tools that you've gathered from your time in the service, from your time at the academy, and your personal life even before that. I just want to speak to that, because as we continue on our path, we'll be like, oh, that one relationship that I had 15 years ago could have been a boss or somebody you were dating or whatever, but like now I get it.
Yes.
if we're open to it, right? Yeah, that's super exciting. So I'm just curious, because this is the part where I want to share with other people. What would you say before we started working together that you were feeling? Like, what were you looking for?
My greatest self-limiting belief, which I actually kind of figured out even working with you, was that I had some unworthiness. And a lot of that came from extreme independence as a trauma response. I did listen to your recent podcast on that, which was spot on. Yeah, that was me. And so a lot of it was actually being able to step back and have perspective and see that, and then allow myself to kind of just open to integrating and understanding and letting go where I needed to let go, and welcoming in things I needed to welcome in. So yeah, before I was still very much in I have to control, I have to make it happen, there's effort. And the unfolding and the relaxing and the kind of stepping into a place of abundance and receiving has just continued to unfold. And it's funny, you probably didn't even see it because I sent it like midnight last night or 11 o'clock or something, but it was a whole new level of epiphany for me literally last night, that I don't even have to ask for anything I need. Universe already knows. I simply need to open to receiving it.
Mm. Yummy, yummy, yummy.
Yeah.
Like we can ask,
Mm-hmm.
if we're exercising our voice and our,
Mm-hmm.
and
We can choose to ask.
yeah, we totally can.
Yeah.
And then it's like, what happens when I choose to believe that I'm already enough and everything that I want is already available to me? Like, what happens? And it's like, oh, like, it's like, yes, please,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay.
And sometimes asking can have interesting consequences. A few months ago, I kind of went, okay, universe, I'm wanting to create these retreats and stuff, throw some stuff at me. What do I still need to learn? What do I need to do? And all of a sudden, like, you'll laugh, like the Facebook pop-up ads, but there were ones that really resonated. I'm like, oh, that's cool course, free webinar, free challenge, this, that, and the other. And I started like, there was too much.
Yeah.
And then I had to kind of draw back of, is this truly aligned? Does the timing make sense for me? Is this something that I am the person that needs to be offering this, or is there somebody else that can do that? And maybe I give them, resource link or something. And then also recognizing that sometimes this was coming out of a little bit of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And recognizing, like, I'm working on a meditation teacher training certification. I don't actually need to be certified. I lead meditation sessions for the company I'm working for. I've led them at my last job. I am very comfortable, and the feedback has been wonderful holding guided meditations.
It's such a paradigm shift for those of us that have had an identity in our accreditations. Not that they don't matter, because they can for some people, and there is validation in training for sure, but it doesn't mean that we can't hold that space or do that thing because we don't have that checkbox anymore.
Yeah.
It's kind of knowing, like, how is it received? What is the feedback? How am I co-creating? I get to do this in my way. We get to. Yeah.
And what it really turned into is, am I trying to get a certification for the sake of certification? Yeah. Or do I actually want to gain and welcome greater knowledge and depth in this area?
Yeah.
And for my coaching certification, I am learning so much through the Georgetown Health and Wellness Coaching Program. I am grateful for that opportunity. It is absolutely worth the investment, and I will be proud of that certification.
Awesome.
I don't know if I'm even gonna bother to sit the boards for ICF and the Health and Wellness Coaching Board, though.
Yeah.
I might, but do I really need that? Is it providing additional value? Are my clients gonna care whether or not I have this extra stamps? And the Health and Wellness Coaching Board, I'm a little interested in because it would allow me to accept insurance, but then that's its whole mess of a game too. Yeah. And I'm not sure it's the clients that are coming to me are going to be doing it like for wellness coaching through their insurance, as opposed to
it's a different energy.
Invest. Yeah.
It's a totally different energy for sure. It's stuff you get to choose to sit with, and and who do I want to attract? And it's awesome. You have the choices, and that's a good place to be. And I hear the awareness and the discernment around it, and which is the clarity, right? You get to choose who you want. You get to choose like who you want to work with, truly. And the more clarity you have, the more you attract the dream clients, which are, that's when it gets like super fun. Like you were a dream client for me. Like here you are, now seriously, like now creating, completing that chapter of your life, and now putting it out into the world without hesitation, and doing it with courage and discernment and trust, and not being in any old story, and really choosing to, like, this is what I want to do. And I'm already doing it, by the way. You already have retreats lined up. You're super clear on what you want to do. And you got the health and wellness coach certification that was aligned for you. You've attracted this wellness director position, which is amazing. You're looking into eco retreats, and this is aligning with your values of service and diversity and connection that I know are some of the values that you hold. And you get to create an opportunity for people to come together from a place that is naturally abundant to you. Like you just get to put your thing out there and invite people in, and it's so exciting. It's super
Thank you.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, for anybody who's listening, what would you say? Because you're a person who's invested in themselves. Like, you've invested in different modalities: meditation, qigong, coaching, leadership, health and wellness coaching. What would you say was different in working with me than anything else you experienced? And 100% like truthfulness, like whether it was positive or negative or whatever, what was that thing that was just uniquely different in that experience?
Part of it was the externals before we really started working together we had some common experience. I felt like there was, like, you would get me more than somebody that hadn't attended a federal service academy and been in that very masculine life, very structured life for a period of time, and had moved into being free-flowing, feminine, woo-woo, which was the space I was moving into. So you understood that transition. And then it's funny, you probably remember, I originally reached out to you just like, hey, what's it like being a coach? I'm considering going into this. I just wanted to kind of like pick your brain about the business side of it. And you had me schedule through your scheduling system, which I'm learning. You have to like create the space so it works for you. And fill out the questions. And I was just like, okay, yeah, I'm doing this for this, but I'll get honest on here.
Yeah.
And they were insightful and really caused me to think deeply. And then on our first call, which I think was scheduled for like 15 or 30 minutes, and we went like an hour and 10 or something, and you were almost running up against another client. I didn't know that it was possible over Zoom to just deeply, energetically even connect with someone. And we just dropped into that, and I felt so seen and so heard. And that I hadn't even realized before that was such a deep need for me. And beyond that, less so now, but then I was still very able to just get frustrated and spun up and into just all this like pressure energy. And you could just hold space for that. And just like, I remember a few times I was like, oh, she's going to be mad at me, or this is going to be offensive or something. And you just walked me through it and talked me through it and held that space and let me a bit. And that also just really built my trust in you. You had me with that, which allowed me to just be deeply vulnerable with you.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying that. I really truly value that feedback. And like, I'm smiling so much, my eyes are not hardly even open. Like, I really, like, if you want to give me a compliment, that is something that I truly, truly value, is just that space of really unconditional love. And, you know, I think that the former version of me, and you may resonate with this too, gave me the capacity to really show up when things get messy. It's like, and now I arrive, right? That next level where, you know, sometimes I've been in situations with the client who really wants to keep pushing because they have sabotaging belief that nobody gets, sees, hears, or supports them. And so they're choosing to not let me in. And then that's when I love to really show up. And I've had that happen in a couple of other relationships. And I just value that you had that reflection as well, because again, we're just humans. Like, we're just, you know, we're just here doing the best we can. And sometimes it's really awesome, and sometimes it's really messy. And that is the human experience. So I love that you gave yourself that permission too. Really, it speaks to your willingness and your courage, and, you know, also speaks to the space that you're holding for people too, because that's the energy, the container. There's like this container that we walk around with and invite people in. Yeah.
As I've been going through my coaching classes that talk about this compassionate, empathetic listening and seeing the whole person and knowing that they have everything they need.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes helping them to recognize that. And the beautiful thing is I could look back at how you modeled that. And I really have, I think, a step up on some of the other students in the class that have not experienced good coaching themselves as a coachee. Because not only am I learning this, but I can look back and reflect and see where you exemplified all of these skills that we're learning that are additive to also the simply being who you are in this, right? And so, yeah, thank you for that. It's really been, it's made this path easy. I have no fears about coaching. I have no fears about whether or not I'm going to add value for anyone. And even if I don't even turn out to be the right coach that resonates with them, which is totally possible, that's okay. I know I will still provide value simply by giving them an hour of my time and being present and listening with love and compassion. So it's a win-win, no matter what happens.
So awesome. We've had such an awesome conversation today. I think what I'm going to do is just, with your permission, I'm going to just upload it on YouTube, and you can have a copy of it as well if you ever want to share it. And I might try to find a way to, I mean, I'd love to have you on the podcast when you're established, like before your retreat.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. And I might find a way to wiggle this in there too. I'll have to talk to my producer, but I think a lot of what we talked about today, just the beautiful part about it is that for anybody who's listening, it gives people permission. It gives people permission to let go of the expectation of what something's supposed to look like or feel like. It gives people permission to come from a place of abundance and receiving versus competition and overworking and hustling. I feel like we covered so many good points here. And what I love is that this is like, what I really love is like what, all the things that you reflected in your experience and working with me is just reflecting back those parts of you, right? That's where we get to light each other up, is like, oh yeah, what I see the teacher in her because she reflects to me the teacher in me. And so I've really enjoyed co-creating with you. I'm so excited to continue supporting you and to share your retreats and your work for the people that I know are really going to benefit from that, because people of service and having those values of service and integrity and honor and courage, those are important, and they're very deeply instilled in the right person. And I know that you're going to create a magical, just totally integrative experience in wonderful places for people. So
Thank
I
you.
love all that. So thank you for all of this. So I'm going to sign off, and we're going to continue chatting a little bit. Let me just